This is Nonsensible.
So we're back with me and Sam on another podcast. Last time I actually suggested the guests, and Sam, being the wonderful host that he is, just goes along with anything I want. So
Great.
once again, we have
Awesome.
with Saul and Woo. They were actually my suggestions. Sam's like, okay, that's cool. And this week I was like, before for my suggestion, I'm like Marshall and AleXa, and he's like, okay.
Word.
So we have once again two of my
I'm
wonderful.
flexible.
You're flexible.
Not like a gymnast, but I'm flexible.
Not like a gymnast, but you're
Not
flexible.
yet.
Not like a,
Not yet.
Okay.
It's a work in progress.
There we go.
So, if you don't mind, introduce yourselves. Take it away.
Sure. Would you like to
Go
go
ahead.
first? Oh,
Ladies
oh,
first.
oh, okay. Yeah, hello. My name is AleXa. Hi, AleXa. And I'm currently a solo artist promoting in Korea. Yeah. Under CP label. Yeah.
And
Awesome.
that's adorable.
I'm insanely awkward, so cheers to that, mate.
That whole hi Alexa, I was gonna like, I think I've got that at home.
Yeah.
I'm sure like so
AleXa,
many people hear that all
introduce
the
yourself.
time.
Yeah, all the time.
Does it
Alexa,
get old?
play
Does it get old?
Despacito.
The AleXa jokes. Yeah,
I'll take that as a
A
yes.
little bit.
absolutely. And we have Marshall.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
hi. I'm Marshall, and I do primarily R&B music, R&B house music, I guess.
Mhm.
But I'm trying to like dabble into other things. I've been looking
Okay.
at like country music these days.
Oh,
So you've
right
never
on.
seen a
Okay,
Korean country
word.
music artist.
That's true.
so
Yeah.
I support this.
I've been listening to like Dolly Parton a lot these days.
Really?
Just to get some inspo. But
Okay.
That would actually be pretty cool. I'm
Yeah,
thinking,
it
thinking
is.
like
why not, dude?
yeah, what's Cyrus, Billy Ray
Billy Ray
Cyrus,
Cyrus.
and what's there's that the
Lil
slide
Nas
they
X?
do.
Oh.
There's like a slide. The country there's a slide. There's a dance that they have.
If it's like a TikTok
Square-
thing,
It's like
Square-
it's kind of like a square dance. or something.
two-step,
If you
like,
if you could get like that popping
Line
here in
dancing.
Korea,
You're
line
fitting,
dancing.
you're fitting the part right now too,
Yeah.
Sam.
'Cause you're Paisley.
The
Paisley.
The Paisley.
I feel like I should be tucked in the back pocket of someone's jeans.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's some Japanese designer. I'm like, this looks really cool, and I put it on,
is.
and I'm like,
It's
I like
real
it,
dope.
now I
yeah.
feel like it should be in the back of like some gangster's pocket.
It looks good though.
Mm.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it a
It's
lot.
very
I
Paisley.
totally
Probably
wear it.
will never be able to wear this in LA though.
We're
It doesn't-
howdy.
I think you
It doesn't-
could.
I don't
Yeah, I don't
think
think
it
it's
matters.
gonna.
I don't think it
Yeah,
matters.
unless you go to those neighborhoods. Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
One thing I want to mention about Marshall's music is you can't really get the full effect of Marshall's music unless you see him live.
Oh yeah.
The way this guy dances is another world.
Oh, really?
I mean, no. It's not like I don't do like crazy
You are
choreography.
you
but
are a
I-
performance artist. though.
I do love to perform.
Yeah.
I-
He always
I-
sets up for like if he has like I remember one time he did a show in Hen's Club, and Marshall had a completely separate outfit for the performance,
Mm.
and it was insane. What was it?
There's so many.
There's
Yeah,
You
the
had
thing
like
is that
a-
I always try to be like as memorable as possible
Okay.
wherever I am,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be a club, whether it be a stage, festival, whatever it is, just to imprint that in their minds, whether it be the music, whether it be the costumes or the fashion or whatever antics that I do on stage.
that was awesome.
So
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think I've seen footage of you with a feather boa.
not necessarily, but I wear a lot of like faux fur coats.
Okay,
Yeah.
And like
that
big,
could have been what it was.
billowy,
Okay,
like things.
wonderful.
Yeah.
I've
Nice.
seen Dave has posted a few times. That
Yeah.
he's been to some of your performances.
It
Thank
gets
you for
rowdy.
coming.
It gets rowdy.
Yeah, we get pretty wild.
What do you think of Alexa's outfit today?
I love it.
Thanks.
I love.
awesome,
I especially
yeah.
like enjoy her nails.
Thank
her nail
you.
art.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
She's so cute.
Thanks.
I just want to put her in a box and just be like, "Ah, you're so adorable."
Thanks. Please poke holes in the
I've never
box.
seen
I
the
can
shy
see.
I've never seen
A-holes.
the shy side of Alexa either.
I'm actually a very shy person, believe it or not.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Really, it didn't
Yeah.
come across in that video that you filmed with Dave recently
Yeah,
at all. At all.
Like, that's the thing. Like, in front of cameras, it's one thing, but on my own, I'm kind of like introverted a little bit,
Mhm. Yeah.
slightly. But I'm just a very awkward, shy person in general. But
There's nothing wrong with that.
word.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Awkwardness is cool.
Yeah.
I think we all have our tendencies to be a little bit awkward at times.
Super. Yeah.
As-
I get super awkward sometimes. I get really awkward sometimes.
well, we could go into depth about that.
Yeah.
Dave and I had a bit of a text message conversation after the last
Yeah, yeah,
recording.
yeah.
Oil buddies thing.
And he's a little like, I'm not too sure. There's a few things I'm not too sure about. And Dave can get in his head at times.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
can get in my head, but
I mean, I was super nervous on my way here. Like, I
Really?
had no idea what we
Really?
were going to talk about.
I say.
And just
We don't come across as being intimidating.
no. I mean,
Be honest. Be honest. Be honest.
I mean, I know Dave from before, so like I wasn't really worried too much about Dave.
You're worried about me.
Me.
That's
Slightly
fine.
about Sam, just because you have the. You're like,
persona?
you've been in media a lot
Uh-huh.
longer than all of us, and but I've only heard good things about you
True.
through like mutual friends of ours, but
That's good
it's still
to know.
it still like brings a a healthy amount of like
Exactly.
I'll
It's
be
like-
honest. There's
healthy
probably
amount of nervousness.
there's probably a lot of bad things you could have heard about me. Thankfully, you didn't hear any of those stories.
No,
Dave's got a
I
lot.
haven't.
What's the
no, I've but from other people, I've never heard anything bad about you. Believe it or not, I haven't heard anybody talk poorly of Sam.
Yeah, I haven't.
I've heard I had a friend who said he had a bad instance with you, but he
Mhm.
said
Oh.
everybody was wasted. So
Jake.
yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
He's like I had a but we were so
Yeah,
so gone.
I think we were both in a similar plane at the time,
Yeah.
and it was like we were just it was just like a pissing contest.
yeah.
It was kind of like I'm more popular than you are. No, I'm more.
Oh,
well,
jeez.
I perform at festivals. It was just like
Yeah.
I sobered up the next day, and I'm like, that was just like the
Stupid,
biggest waste
yeah.
of my life. Like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I was in line trying to get a hamburger at McDonald's at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, are you serious?
That's
Could I have not done
really
something
sad
more
right now.
constructive with that time, like eat a cheeseburger?
Yeah.
Seriously.
yeah.
Good times.
All right. Well, we've all introduced ourselves. We've kind of broken the ice. We always try to bring a topic to our show that we can all, give our own opinion and dive deep into what we think of these topics. I don't know what I just said. That was a weird way to phrase that. That was a weird way to phrase that.
I tell you what about before we get into it?
Okay.
Obviously, we're going to talk about it a bit more. Why don't we just do a shout out in terms of like where people can reach out to us or where they
Okay,
can
cool.
watch the show?
All right.
Oh, sweet.
On Instagram and Twitter, it's at The Dive Studios. YouTube.com / Dive Studios as well. You can check the video footage out there. Of course, if you want to hear us, subscribe and listen to us on Apple
Make sure to leave a review.
Podcasts or Spotify as well.
Yeah. And leaving
Yeah.
reviews helps so much for our podcast. So make sure to leave a review.
Yeah, I checked out some of the other podcasts and they've got shitloads of reviews.
Yeah. We want shitloads of reviews.
Was it subscribers or reviews? I couldn't tell. Someone had like 30,000. I'm like,
Jay, maybe?
we've got a long way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're
So-
pushing shit upstream at the moment, but that's okay. We'll get there. We will get there.
Hopefully.
Yeah, so I guess the concept of the show is it's just a round table where we like to get people's ideas and opinions on different concepts. And also, we have this jar in front of us, which is where we pull a random topic out. And it's a bit of an opportunity for people to have personal story times.
Okay.
And
Word.
the last time we had some really, I won't say dark stories, but
With
stories definitely on the edge of life.
Okay.
Kind of like
All right.
we had
oh
there
gosh.
one of our guests, or both of them been stabbed at one time in life?
One got stabbed and one had to break somebody's finger.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You ever
But-
had
but-
a
sounds
victim's
about right.
finger?
But that's just these are all personal stories. I've never
Right.
I've never stabbed anyone. I've never broken
Right.
someone's finger.
Yeah.
And I don't have those expectations from either of you either.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to
relax.
I mean,
fight
you don't
to
know.
save my life.
You don't know.
You don't
Alexa
know.
has some
Yeah.
horror stories.
But-
Oh, really? Wow. This is going to get interesting.
All right.
Tell us about it.
Tell us
Oh,
about it. Go
God.
ahead and
Okay,
pull
sure.
up one out for us, Alexa.
This says, tell us about a rude fan interaction.
Ooh.
Thing is, I've
interesting.
honestly I've had none though. That's the thing.
Really?
That's good.
I'm not like
you have really great
sugarcoating this.
fans.
I've had none whatsoever.
No fan interactions whatsoever.
No rude ones at all.
Sorry,
I have no fans.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yikes.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
All right. So since
No
you've
rude
had no
fans.
physical rude interactions,
Yeah.
can you tell us about maybe an internet comment that kind of bothered you that you can remember, specifically that might have just kind of messed your day up a little bit?
Well,
Messed
maybe
my
maybe
day
not
up a
even
little bit.
rude. Maybe something that you found uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable.
maybe that comment that somebody left about you on our video.
Oh yeah,
That was an
So,
interesting one.
For anybody listening or watching who might not know, I recently did a video with Dave actually, just kind of explaining my backstory, a little bit of who I am, and my like background as a person. So my mom is actually like adopted from South Korea, but
Dope.
some people found that story to be fabricated and thought we hired an actress and wrote this whole story out.
Can I read the
Yeah,
specific
I mean,
comment?
if you would like to, please
It was
go ahead.
hilarious.
It was suggested that your backstory was completely fabricated.
Correct, and we hired a Korean woman to play my mother and made up all this stuff, and I'm like, yes.
So
Definitely.
HC, sorry to break it to you, but this entire background is manufactured by her entertainment company. It's what they do to sell the story of the training to persuade young fans. She is 100% full white from the States. So they
Wow. So this person that doesn't know you from like the random person down the street feels that they're confident enough to comment on your family history,
yeah.
and it's your company's background story. That is
Clearly.
a load of crap.
Yeah. I was so surprised when I saw that. I sent it straight to Alexa's manager. I was like, have you seen this before? And she's like, I wish we had the power to fabricate an
All of that,
entire
yeah.
family background.
Hire an actor to play.
Exactly.
So were there some people who wanted to like in my video we talked about, Alexa still wants to find family because her mother was adopted in the 60s, and we were talking about how documentations and record keeping was probably way different back.
written.
It was
Yeah,
written back
Exactly.
then. This was Korea in the 60s, you
Yeah.
know. So have there been people who hit you guys up to try to help?
Yes, actually. So, as far as I'm aware, my manager has received several emails, actually. People saying, oh, we use these things to find out this information about this, or have you tried this yet? People, they're really eager and wanting to help us, which is very kind. I never thought
That's
that
awesome,
kind of
yeah,
reaction
that's
would
awesome.
happen, but
Yeah.
thank you to whoever sent us the stuff. Thank you.
That's
But
cool.
yeah.
Were you pretty fluent in did you know any Korean? Because I'm sure you speak Korean now.
Now I
but
do.
You learned it when you got to
Exactly.
Korea.
I learned it when I came here. I knew how to read, but I didn't know what words meant. So it's like, what's the point? But
That's so crazy.
yeah, I didn't know anything till I came here.
That's incredible. I mean, always feel like the adoptee story is a super interesting journey, and especially if you're from mixed race,
Right.
Absolutely.
a mixed race background. So, I'm sure your mom has a crazy, insane story.
Oh,
and
she
then,
does.
and then you do as well. But
There's a lot of those stories out there. I've met a lot of people that were adopted to the States
yeah,
and ended up getting deported back to Korea because
Really?
the paperwork wasn't finished.
Yeah.
And
That's
Wow.
insane.
yeah, like some of them came back, they didn't speak a lick of Korean.
Mhm.
They've got no
Oh,
family
wow.
and they've been sleeping,
They're
under
homeless
bridges.
or-
They're
yeah.
homeless
That's so
until,
sad.
they come across and someone helps them. And you'll find a lot of people like that, more than you'd expect, actually.
Yeah. It was during the 60s, 70s, and even until the 80s, it was just Korea was like an orphanage farm where
Basically.
and I think it started out under really under good intentions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it kind of snowballed into something else. And they were just giving kids away to families
Anybody.
in the Midwest and the South.
Midwest,
Christian-ish
exactly.
families.
Exactly.
She being from the
Amarillo,
Midwest.
Texas, Guyman.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and and the paperwork wasn't properly
Yeah.
done. It was just a
Yeah.
hot mess back then. But yeah, it's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, so no rude fan interactions on my end.
Yeah.
That's something to be excited about. I think,
Yeah.
you haven't had that yet. And
What about you?
I hate
Sam?
to say it, but eventually you potentially will.
Oh, it's very possible. Right now, I
Yeah.
raise my babies well. They know better. So
I'm curious about you, Sam. Though you've been in the industry for so long. What fan interactions have you had that?
I've
made you-
had. I could write a book about it.
Wow.
oh boy.
Yeah, hang on. I had something on the tip of my tongue that I was. Okay, so this is something recently, and it wasn't an interaction that occurred with me, but my wife was out with my children, and I guess she was kind of. William, my oldest son, was kind of maybe walking ahead, and a couple came up and said hello to him, and he didn't reply to them, and then as they walked past my wife. The guy's oh, he's so rude. I said hello and he didn't say hello back.
Oh God.
And the wife's,
To a
the
child?
woman is the girlfriend is jabbed him in the ribs with her elbow and she's that's William's mum. And it's the kid's not even 4 years old.
Yeah.
And if someone you've never
I
met before
can't.
comes up to you and says hello, you can't expect him to say hello to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of expectation on him because he's been on television.
He's a baby.
Yeah.
Are
That's
you kidding
ridiculous.
So that stuff gets me heated, but
me? Oof.
Of
Probably
Especially
the
when it's
wor-
about your child.
probably the worst thing that ever happened to me was the night before I was getting married, and I was out drinking with some friends, and a guy said, "Can I come and get a photo with you?" And I'd had a few drinks, and I'm like, "Fine, whatever." And then he proceeds to stick his finger in his mouth and then give me a wet willy.
Oh.
And I'm
what?
like, I got really offended with him. My friends had to break me up, like had to separate me from this guy. I was
Oh.
ready to throttle him.
That's insane.
That's
that's
nasty.
disgusting.
Why?
It's-
would
yeah,
What is wrong
anybody-
it's
with
like-
people?
It's like, yeah,
Ooh.
you've asked me for a photo. I'm out with my friends having a celebration, and I've been generous enough to say yes, and then you go and do that. That was
who
gross.
Does that? That's
That was gross.
disgusting.
Yeah.
That's nasty.
When you
fact that
think
you
it,
restrained-
like this was like 5-6 years ago. Now, if that happened today, 2020,
There's no way.
you'd be going to hospital.
Yeah.
Like
Oh.
you'd be getting checked out. Just-
Right.
Yeah.
That's
I've
insane.
I've also had people approach me while I've been in the bathroom and ask for a photo, like of a restaurant.
Yeah,
Can I get a
I've had
photo?
that.
I'm like,
Word.
excuse me.
I've had
Or
that
they'll put their hand out to shake your hands, and I'm like, hang on, you haven't washed
Sir,
your
this
hands.
is a restroom. This is a bathroom.
Coronavirus.
I've had
just like,
people.
the wet willy. Oh,
I've had people get
can't.
argumentative while I'm eating dinner, asking for a photo. I'm like,
they'll be like, why? Why
yeah,
can't you?
I'm eating my meal, and they're like, oh, yeah, I understand, but can you just take this photo? Like I had it once at the airport, and the woman's like, take a photo. Like I have to get on my plane.
Wow.
And I turned around and said, look, I'm just enjoying my meal. I'm like, if you had bought my meal, sure. I've paid for this meal. I'd like to finish it. And then I'll take a photo. But she was in a rush to get in her flight. It was
My
kind of like,
goodness.
it's more important for me.
Yeah.
Like it's give and take.
Yeah.
Like when I'm eating, when I'm in the bathroom, they're no-nos for me. You
Yeah.
don't interrupt someone then.
Of course.
I mean, that's common sense for most people. I think that's just an invasion of personal space and privacy in
Yeah.
general. You're allowed to get even. You're allowed to, I think, get even angry if you wanted to.
I
Yeah.
think I try not to because
Yeah.
I kind of understand people think that they can relate to you on a personal level because they've seen you so much. But I think that's the great thing. If people do it in person, it's a lot less offensive than when it is online.
Right.
Yeah.
Like when you're behind a keyboard, people can be anonymous and can say almost
Whatever they want.
anything.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
it's like, whoa, yeah. There's things you don't say. I don't even
Mhm.
read comments now.
Mm.
Thankfully, I think most of the big places have got rid of them. So
Yeah, I love that Naver got rid of the
Oh, nice.
for comments on celebrities. I
Oh.
love
Really?
that, yeah.
Neva,
So you
Taum, I think,
You
yeah,
can't-
most
you
of them.
can't leave comments on celebrities now.
Oh, nice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I had no
I don't
idea.
know that.
Celebrity articles, which I think is great. because-
Everything else is still open, like anything in society or political or
Right.
anything.
Yeah.
It's just celebrities.
Yeah,
Right.
celebrities.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that.
Way to go.
It's about time.
Yeah.
it's
I
about
think
time.
I think there was a few instances where things have gone a little too far, and it's unfortunate that people had to lose their lives
Yeah.
for this to happen. But
Exactly.
Oh,
you know, the fact that it has happened now, hopefully, we won't be seeing those instances again.
We can only hope and pray.
You also you've got a few stories about people calling you Yongguk Namja as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
Korean
But I laugh
Oh,
at
no.
that. I laugh at that. I laugh at that.
Korean Englishman.
Yeah.
Like no.
That's kind of
Yes, again.
sad that I guess all Western YouTubers are dumped into
one
we,
category.
we don't look
The
anything
same.
alike.
No.
Not even. I've had people say to me, Sam or Chitty.
Oh, come on.
I shit you not. I shit you not. We don't look. We don't look alike at all. And he's like, "Oh, Sam or Chitty, 잘 보고 있어요."
Maybe because you guys have the first.
It's
Yeah,
because
same
the
first
name.
name,
It's
maybe.
because the name.
But
And
But that's really.
yeah,
I've been
What
called
chitty?
Fabian. I've been called Young Namja Toshi. I've been called Julian.
I've
just
been called Robert
everybody.
Holly.
You've been called Robert.
Yeah.
Yikes. Yeah,
So it happens to everyone.
Yeah, it happens to everyone. Yeah.
oh, man.
What about Marshall?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have any crazy stories like that compared to you guys.
Have you had an
Um,
instance where like somebody offended you?
I mean, but it's for me, it's just like I just like brush it off just because it's like not worth And I think if I knew how to fight, maybe I would be a little bit more like. But because I don't know how to fight, I don't know how to defend. I literally, my taekwondo, I think as soon as I got the yellow belt, I was like, all right, I'm done. Because, like all people of Korean heritage or of Korean ethnic backgrounds, their parents, if they're somewhat connected to the culture, at least send them to taekwondo. It's like part of the
rite of passage.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, like, I remember my mom sent me to like the nearest community center, and they were teaching taekwondo from this like Samoan lady, and she was really great, but also very scary. And I was this like little chubby like Korean kid. I was in pain like all the time because she would like step on me and all this stuff. And I was just like, I would like cry every day. It was the worst experience of my life. And I, like fun chubby little marshmallow Marshall, and literally, I think it was like a 2-month program. As soon as I got my yellow belt, I was like, okay, I'm done. I fulfilled my like minimal requirement to be a good Korean and peaced out. But now I want to like take it again because I can't carry around like butter knives or whatever.
But I'm sure you don't get into situations where it gets confrontational at all.
Rarely. But just in case. I just want to be able to like defend myself.
I want to hear one horror story where you were just in a very uncomfortable situation.
When there are times when I dress in very flamboyant outfits, like super flamboyant. I'll wear like massive heels and this like huge thing.
I love it though.
And there are because it's not like we can. I would like to. I am pretty confident in who I am, but it's still not. And Korea is relatively safe for the most part.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I wouldn't be able to do half of the things back in the States that I'd be able to do in Korea because people don't really bother you. But during like the weekends where people are all like out and about in the in bars, whatever, and they get drunk, they do tend to get a little bit more aggressive. Yeah. And so I'll get like dirty looks or I'll get like snide comments or like, snickers or whatnot. And so nothing to where they like, I've had a few where they like just like, what is this called? Yeah, bump into you aggressively.
Oh, man.
But other than that, like, so those are the times where I just want to, like, if I were, I'd be, like pushing back, be like,
if you were,
like, what?
I'd clock him for you, man.
But thank you. That's so sweet of you.
I seriously, just give me an excuse to beat someone's ass. I've always wanted an excuse. I've always wanted to beat someone's ass out of justice.
Yeah.
Justice.
I just want to beat someone out of justice.
If you're a superhero, you'd be called Justice Fist.
Justice Fist.
The fist of justice.
Yeah.
Maybe you could roll with Marshall whenever he's out of but you could be
sometimes.
his security detail.
The thing is, most people love Marshall though. I think, I think he says for the most part, Korea, when they're snide like that, it's very under the
rare.
breath and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very
never
like
seen somebody
microaggressive.
It's not confrontational.
Yeah.
I think I've seen people like when Marshall, before Marshall gets upset, I think I've heard people go like, well.
Yeah.
But that's as much as, I've seen it. But that's not, you can't punch somebody like, what'd you say? Moya?
Yeah.
You can't clock them and say moya.
It seems like that's what you want to do right now. You're kind of tempted by that.
I want someone to do him the wrong way though, like really bad.
Why would you wish that upon
Let's
him?
not and say we did.
So you want to see Marshall go through some potentially pain
Some
and
painful-
discomfort so that you can get that off your
Justice
chest.
first.
Yeah. Well,
I want to show him though how much I love him though. I want to show
You could
Marshall.
just give him a hug.
This is for you, buddy.
It's so much
That's
easier.
right.
Yeah.
You're right. I think I'm fighting different demons. Sorry, Marshall.
I mean,
Sorry.
It's cool.
You're right, Sam. Sam's like Sam,
Justice Fist and his demons.
Yeah, Justice Fist and his demons.
Oh, but you know what though? The reason why I do want to learn how to defend myself is not necessarily because of fans. I mean, that's cool too. But there was an altercation that I experienced like 2 years ago with someone within the music community that was violent.
And they were to you?
Yeah.
Spill the tea.
And so, I mean, I'm not gonna like
There's probably
it's.
legal
Name drop.
issues involved.
Yeah, I
No
can't
name
name drop,
dropping.
but it was super traumatizing to where like I was literally in fear for my life for like next 2 weeks. I like hit up Woo and I was like I don't know what to do. Like, so it was like something where that's where like, oh man, maybe I should like learn how to fight or like take self-defense classes or something to learn how to defend myself, not
Right.
to like beat anybody up, but to defend myself.
Right.
So
Fine, you're a pretty big dude though.
yeah,
How
I
tall
just
are
don't
you?
know.
He's tall. He's thick.
I'm around like
Hang on, man. Hang
He's tall
on.
and thick.
That's got so many connotations to it.
THICC. That's what I mean.
I shouldn't be here.
I
Boy,
still
he
want some
thick.
I still want some clarification.
Marshall.
Clarification, please.
oh my god,
He's thick in the good way.
Okay.
He's thick in the good
That-
way.
Where's my
that
towel?
still doesn't help.
No, it helps.
I knew I was gonna sweat.
It helps when he's on stage.
And it's gonna. Lord have
So-
mercy.
So it obviously was quite a serious.
Yeah. It was an intense experience, one that I don't ever want to repeat again. But yeah, it made me. I don't know. It kind of made, not that I've ever like, I've barely felt the bit of the glacier of what is like what women probably go through when they're like followed home or catcalled or like they don't feel safe or they're always like looking over their shoulder. That just a little tiny drop of like, oh, this is kind of what it possibly might feel like for someone who's experienced some sort of like violence or trauma in their physical trauma in their lives, where they kind of like, oh shoot, like is this person gonna creep
Fight
up
or
behind
flight.
me? Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, anyway.
You mentioned that you don't want to go into depth of that story. I'm just curious. Would you say that person was it more of a mental issue or was it just a?
This person definitely does have some issues. Like, I mean, all of us do, but I think he has a lot of like violent tendencies.
Internalized rage.
Yeah,
that
from
kind
the
of stuff.
past, and it involved like one other person, and it was kind of like I just happened to be caught up in the middle by accident.
Wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But we all knew of each other, and some of it was based on his suspicions about me not really being gay, even though I came out to him and like had told him I'm like, and he at the time he was like, oh yeah, totally. I'm like, I'm so, you're so brave for blah 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 blah. But then in the end, it was like a bit of jealousy and like was involved. And
You thought it was like a backstory that your company had set up.
no.
Hey, twins. What's
How did you
good?
know?
Twins.
Yeah, so it's all made up. It's all fabricated.
Oh my god.
I'm
my God.
I'm just envisioning like this ballad singer getting really aggressive. I don't know. We're gonna have to step away from this.
Yeah,
Step away
anyway.
from this.
Anyways,
Good times.
Indeed.
So now that we've pulled that from the jar, we also have a segment on the mind where we go into some deeper topics that have been weighing on our minds lately. Today's topic, I'm not sure if you guys know what this means. Do you guys know what cancel culture is?
Oh yeah.
Please explain, just to refresh.
All right, cancel
us and
culture
our
is
listeners
pretty much
and me.
when everybody collectively decides that somebody's canceled based on something they've done or even something in their past. For example,
So Kevin
Kevin Hart, for example.
when he got to host the Oscars, the Academy Awards, they went back and he had some tweets that he had said were jokes, but were obviously homophobic at the time. And a lot of people have said, based on that, we don't think that you should host the Oscars.
That's right.
Then he came out and decided that he wasn't going to apologize for it. So that's kind of a perfect example of what cancel culture is. But I think nowadays, some of it goes even further.
Right.
Whereas people are losing, work. Like they will never get cast in a role
Credibility.
again. They will never be able to perform again, depending on what it is that's been said or done in their past.
Yeah. So what do you think? How much should people be accounted for?
Accountable for.
Accountable for the things they've done in their past, even if it's something as small as a tweet in 2008 or 9. What do you guys think?
I think I think we walk a fine line between like, this is what the culture is like today in 2020, where everything is online, like nothing is really, and once you put things out online, it stays out there forever. So people can really dig and like, and that's the scary thing is because as people, we change and we grow and like, we mature as people. But But I do feel like there are certain things that are somewhat unforgivable, like
Bill Cosby, for example.
Yeah, like crime in general is
like
something kind of
like
unforgivable.
you know, crimes against like human beings, you know,
Rape
rape,
allegations,
stuff like that. That doesn't ever
Absolutely.
have an expiration date for sure.
I agree.
But things like, you know, especially for in terms of Kevin Hart, those homophobic comments that he made back in the mid 2000s or whatever.
Yeah.
It was a different time back then.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was, as a comedian, those kinds of, you know, jokes were allowed. Like, I mean, I'm sure, like, we all remember when we were younger. And,
Yeah.
oh, that's so gay. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
that was so common.
Absolutely.
So common that, like, I wouldn't fault someone for saying that back then because that's just what the culture was. Everybody was saying it.
I know. Yeah.
Not to say that it's okay or I
Right.
condone that, but
Right.
you know, that's just what the deal was back in the day. So like in that instance, I think Kevin Hart was okay in not apologizing. Like that's not who I am today. So why is that? If like, let's pull out your history. Like let's see what you did like 10 years ago and
It's
see
so
what you were up to or
crazy
what you said.
How
like
much language has changed too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like it's a different world today than it was 10 years ago.
Exactly.
It's also, in terms of that, like an example, what we have here in Korea is if you get caught drink driving and you work in the industry, generally you won't be working for at least the next 12 months.
right.
Now, it's kind of, I find it interesting that when we talk about this cancel culture, it applies primarily to people within the public eye. It necessarily doesn't apply to politicians either. They can get away with a lot more.
AKA
But you also have to think there are
current
other people
US
that are in
presidents.
positions of responsibility. Now, if you're going to say someone who works in the entertainment industry gets caught for drink driving, they shouldn't work. My thought is if you've got someone that is potentially a general surgeon or is a teacher or in other positions of responsibility, shouldn't there be similar consequences for people like that as well? The cancel culture itself, I think, being a father, I look at my children and I'm like, oh my God, I hope you don't say something when you're 8 years old that you're going to regret when you turn 30. It's at that stage now. And you have to think, when kids will be kids and they're going to stuff up, they're going to make mistakes, and it's a learning process. You're not going to go out there and allow them to do things that are racist or homophobic or against the law. As a parent, your job is to educate them on those issues. But they could take a photo and put it up on whatever the social network is at the time, and people come back 10 years later and say, we've got this photo of you when you were 13, 14, 16, and we're going to hold it against you now, and we think that we should cancel your career. That, for me, as a parent, is really scary because there's only so much a parent can do.
Right.
Yeah. There's no room for us to make mistakes anymore.
Exactly.
Or for kids to be kids.
At that age?
Imagine when I was 11 or 12, my Lord.
Oh,
I
God.
said all sorts of ridiculous, silly things.
Bro.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
not
Like,
even that. Even when you get to 21, you're still doing things you probably
Right.
shouldn't be doing.
But like, let us learn about life and like
Part of being human is making
mature.
mistakes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, you know how
Table.
Kevin Hart made all those mistakes? I'm not sure if you remember this. Okay, I'm going to say a pretty shitty word. Okay?
Maybe you
Here we go.
When I was a kid, for example, now when I hear this word, it makes me cringe. Remember the word fag? That word makes me cringe now. But do you remember in 2002, 2003, that was just something kids said. I didn't even think about that word when I was a kid, for example.
part of the reason
But-
you don't think about it, like when you actually learn the origin of the actual word, like it's a bundle of sticks to be burnt.
Exactly.
Like it actually has real evil connotations behind it.
exactly.
When you're young, you don't know those
That
connotations.
was something kids. I remember when I was a kid, like in 6th, 7th grade, kids would just call each other that.
Exactly.
And now when I hear that word,
I used to be called that a lot.
now when I hear that word, it's just the worst thing that you could possibly say to another human being.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, we would just. It's crazy how times have changed so much to the point where we didn't realize in those times, because there was no internet, there was no ways for people to communicate like that, how heavy a single word can be.
Words
to
carry so much
somebody.
weight.
But even like the word gay, like
Or
from my
even the word
parents' generation,
queer.
Yeah.
from my parents'
Queer was like,
parents' generation, gay was it didn't have that connotation. It was to be happy and gay, as
Right.
in joyous.
there's so many
Yeah.
songs with that word in it too.
But look
the
at
old times.
like at the F word, it used to be like, oh no, you can't say fuck. But now it's just so much part of our language that there are so many different ways you can use it. It has a complete different meaning from what it used to.
Yeah. Words change. The meanings behind it change
Exactly.
too. And
Yeah.
like there's certain communities that want to take back the word as
Reclaiming,
well.
exactly.
Yeah. Such as queer.
Yeah.
That's another word that was like, what? But
I was actually thinking about this the other day because I saw an incident that happened on the internet. A guy and a girl, I guess they were seniors in high school, filmed a TikTok, and they were in the toilet of their high school, and it was like they were doing a magic spell, and they were saying that they were putting these terms in that related to black people.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that. It was the worst. It was like,
It was incredibly racist, but
do you like
the
watermelons
full
and fried chicken? Do you like there's stuff like that? It's a TikTok from high school kids, and there's from high school kids.
oh gosh.
Complete
They're
a
gonna
bunch
so
of racist
regret it
terms.
later.
Go on.
yeah, it was like lack of work ethic and all these different
Do you
things.
go to prison?
Yeah.
Oh.
Now they got called out on it, and
got
they got
expelled.
kicked out of school.
Rightfully so.
The girl then went and apologized on her Instagram or TikTok or whatever it was, and people reached out to her university that she'd applied for, and I think the university has dropped her as well.
Dang.
And the first thing that popped into my head was, okay, what they did was incredibly racist. They've been called out on it. My concern is that if you take it to the degree where we're making sure that they can no longer go to a university, is that going to educate them on the problem, or is that going to flip them over and make them even more racist than what they were to begin with,
Interesting.
and put them further on the right wing?
Right. That's an interesting.
And that's
bring that up.
that for me is something we need to consider a little bit more, because in a situation like this, we don't know about what environment they've grown up in.
True.
Maybe we need to educate them before canceling them. But if you cancel them like this straight away, more than likely this young girl apologized. Her apology was not accepted, and it was taken. And she even said, please don't take this to my university. It was taken there. Would that not be a tipping point for someone like this to make it, say, all right, well, fuck the world, I'm going to become even more racist now?
I think what you just said is super applicable about canceling someone before you educate them. Because especially online with like celebrities nowadays, I've seen some people, because originally it was just this person did something wrong, cancel.
Yeah.
But nowadays people are like, okay, well, how about we educate this person first so they don't further their mistakes, but if they repeat it, then it's a cancel culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I'm okay. Like, give
Same.
them a couple chances to make
Exactly.
mistakes.
Let them
Like,
know
wouldn't you
what they
want the
did.
same like
Exactly.
courtesy as everybody else? But also, it's like the mob mentality.
Exactly,
Like
mob
this
mentality.
whole like social media, like the media circus with the mob mentality. That's kind of what everyone loves to jump on. Even in Korea, I mean, that's real strong in Korea. I feel like, but all over the world, I mean,
Yeah.
it's intense. Like they love to drag people across
For
the
fun.
floor.
And I'm like, but what do you gain from dragging someone? What
It's
do you
just-
gain?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If I could pick the brains of everyone who participates in that,
It's almost like a tall poppy syndrome. You know, people that are successful, you know, if you felt that you haven't attained a certain level of success in your life, it's like, well, I don't want them to be successful as well. If the opportunity arises, it's kind of drag them down.
That's rough.
Come on,
Now we're all
world.
depressed.
No, I agree.
There's
with
so
every- I
much
think every-
negativity in the world.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you have to look at everything from both sides. And if you're being nominated to be cancelled, you've obviously done something pretty drastic.
Exactly.
So you can't say they're completely undeserving.
Exactly.
In a perfect world, it'd be like a game of soccer. We'll give them a yellow card and
Exactly.
say, okay, this is what you've done. You've screwed up. Now you need to rectify the issue. And if you don't, we'll give you a red card and you're done.
Yeah.
But like Marshall said, there's a mob mentality behind it. And, you know, once the ball starts rolling, it's really hard to stop it.
Yeah.
Have you got something there for us?
No, I was just thinking about where sometimes cancel culture can get out of hand sometimes too.
Oh, absolutely.
Like with recently Adam Driver, he said in an interview that when 9/11 happened, it made him want to join the army to get retribution for his country.
Mhm.
And people said that was an anti-Muslim statement. but he was like, I was 18 at the time. It affected me, and I wanted to go. I wanted to join the army to
Someone
do something
dug
for
that
my
up,
country.
like recently.
Yeah, someone dug that up, and they said that he was a racist. He was racist, and a lot of people were like gone inside, like, come on. At this point, you're just trying too hard. There's some cancel culture where it's like, come on, like, if we're gonna dig out everything,
thing.
then none of us, everybody should be canceled. I mean, we've all done stupid shit. You know, this like people need sometimes, like, there's a lot of cancel culture where it's definitely like justified. Like that person needs to go away for good.
Exactly.
Like especially like last year, a lot of the Korean controversies. Like there's a lot of stuff that guy needs to go to prison. Like, and you guys know who I'm talking about. But at the same time, you'll have some people who are like, I remember there was a certain Korean celebrity. She somebody said something kind of rude to her on her Instagram, and she snapped back, and she got canceled in Korea.
Really?
Yeah, and all she did was snap back and defend herself, and and it was against her image, for being such a kind person. Apparently she can't. You're not allowed to
be human.
You're not allowed to get attitude when people are rude to you because you're supposed to retain a certain image. So I think there's an extent to what we should be canceling, what we shouldn't be.
Well, do we have a standard for what we consider political correctness? Like, do we have standards in place of what we should expect of people?
I feel like most normal, like what is normal, right?
Right.
I don't even know how to.
The universal standards.
Yeah, like,
for political
there are certain
correctness.
standards that like people who are relatively of sound body and mind adhere to, but
that's very limiting.
Yeah,
That's like 1% of the
I can't even
population.
because the thing is online, the internet, the interwebs is the wild west or the wild east. It's just insane. People can do whatever they want. It's like nothing is really regulated to a certain extent, and I feel like a lot of times, like you mentioned before, people behind the keyboard, they have a lot more. They think they have a lot more power, and they have a lot more like ammo to say whatever they want, things that they would never say to the person's face in real life. But I think a lot of it has to do with the foundation of like, I want to be seen, I want to be heard. That I think is at the core of a lot of people who dig up things and because they want to be retweeted. They want to be the center of attention. Which, a lot of people do to a certain extent. We all have that, which is why we're in entertainment or whatnot. There's a certain sense of like, not always, of course. Sometimes you're just a musical genius or an acting, a thespian or whatever. And you're just like, and those people like hate being in the public and they're, But a good number of us, like, we like this being, the center of attention to a certain extent or being in the spotlight. And so I think a lot of other people also want that, and their only way or their only road to that is to drag somebody or say something nasty, because negative things tend to get a lot more.
And nowadays things go viral in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it's crazy.
So it's just, I don't know what I was answering the question. I don't know what question I was answering, but
You did a great job.
I mean, from my perspective,
regulations.
Well, kind of standards, really.
That's right.
Like, for me, I not grew up, but my kind of introduction into the industry here was in comedy. So I have a lot of friends that work in comedy. And one of the things now we talk about is, what can we talk about when we're doing comedy now? There's so much that's considered off limits. Everything's so politically correct. So I can't make observations because potentially if one person in that room is offended, all of a sudden I'm politically incorrect. It only needs to be one person. And it could be an observation I've made about myself, and that's what it gets down to. It used to be with comedy, you could almost say anything and people go, that's a joke. We know you don't mean it, but we're going to laugh about it. And that for me, with this whole cancel culture is, where do you draw a line in the sand and say, okay, this we can't talk about whatsoever. These ones, maybe we can. These ones you can talk about as much as you like. What and who gets the say on what that is? That for me is just, it seems like in the comedian community, it's becoming a lot more difficult because those expectations are so much higher now.
Well, I think a lot of people think like you, Sam. That's why guys like Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle are blowing up even now, because there's some people who are just kind of like, all right, we gotta, some things are comedy. We can laugh about some things. Come on, like let's laugh at each other, because I think that's one of the funny. A lot of comedy when you're laughing at yourself,
Yeah.
or you're laughing at people you love or people you enjoy. Everybody has things that that are funny about them. Yeah, I don't know. Like, for example, when I was a kid, I remember I'm Cuban and Peruvian, and when I would go to Miami, sometimes my cousin would be like, "David, ¿qué pasó? You're such a gringo," and I would laugh at that. I would laugh at that because what happened to you? They're like you're even more pale now. Like you're just a white boy now, and I would laugh at that because I know that I'm so far apart. I'm not in touch with my Cuban side anymore. Like to them, I'm the whitest kid in the room, And I used to, when I lived in Miami, I was different. So, sometimes we gotta laugh at ourselves too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. Absolutely. The political climate and just like the climate in general is very like everyone's tiptoeing around what is right and wrong.
Even your political beliefs.
Oh, yeah. I
You
would never talk
can't
about
be
my
open
political-
about your political beliefs.
Yeah.
Because the other side is going to say, hey, who are you to talk about politics to begin with? And we don't agree with you.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a lot of people like shut up and dribble.
Yeah.
Remember that? Like NBA players, when they give their opinion on something, shut up and dribble. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
Come
Just
on.
shut up and sing, or shut up
Yeah,
and
yeah, like-
do comedy,
yeah.
or shut up and
Shut up and
stick
dance.
with, It's
If you
just-
can vote, you should be able to have
right.
a say on
If you
politics.
pay taxes, you vote, you live the same life as everybody else, you utilize the same, whatever it is that everybody else does, then of course they should have a say.
So it's pretty hard to find a medium. It doesn't matter, what position, what side you're on. Like it's
The general rule of thumb is if someone's offended by it, you've said something offensive. That's how it tends to work in venues.
Yeah.
I don't get offended by much. Like especially if it's referred to it, me personally, I'm like, whatever. If you're saying it for humor's sake, there are obviously things that it should always not be talked about.
Yeah.
But it's a very fine line. It's a
Yeah.
very fine line. But there's certainly, like we mentioned earlier, for kids that are younger, there has to be leeway for them. You have to let kids grow up and make mistakes and learn from them. Otherwise, kids aren't going to climb trees and fall out of them and break their arm anymore. It's like, I'm not going to do anything because if I make a mistake, I'm screwed.
Right. It's very like not the post-apocalyptic, but very what's that one book? 1984.
1984.
Yeah, dystopian. It's very it's very like
Oh,
dystopian
gosh,
where
1984.
it's like, oh, you can't do anything. People are always watching you. Which, in a way that's the way it is. And kids who were born in like the early 2000s now, they're the first like wave of children to go through their teenage experience in front
The
of the
digital
world.
age, that's the thing.
Yeah. Whereas the rest of us, it was like mixed, it was like half digital, half not. And even now we're all trying to figure out what it is and how to go about it.
So maybe
Yeah.
based on that, it's for the younger generation, I find that they're better prepared for this. Like for the older generation, I think we're more likely to make mistakes because it's a generational gap. I don't know what my children are going to expect in 10 or 15 years from society.
Yeah.
I have to learn to adapt.
Right.
They're living it. They know what society expects of the 20-year-olds now. They're good.
Yeah.
And if they're not, they're big mistakes they're making. They should know better.
Yes, to a certain extent, but I also feel like as people who are in positions of influence or able to, push culture in a certain way, that since we understand at least half of like what's going on in that community, in that culture, and in the world today, we can kind of like set a precedent for the future generation to give them leeway. Not sure if the future generation will hop on board per se, because they're all about, they love canceling people left and right. I don't know, man. It's all kind of crazy.
Cancel me, Marshall.
And
It's like a sexual.
Wow,
And
hang
with
on.
that-
and with that,
Cancel me.
have a good
Somebody
night.
cancel me.
Yeah.
I get canceled tonight.
You're not suggesting they cancel
the
this,
shit out
are
of
you?
me. What? Cancel the shit out of me.
No. On that note, I think we're going to have to wrap it
There's
up.
that.
Woo.
Okay.
That's a good way to
That
end it,
could
right?
be
It
the
is
thing that
time.
cancels this podcast.
Oh,
Dave just got us
boy.
cancelled. Wow.
Good job, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
First and last, thank you so much.
Wow, that was an interesting episode. I think.
I love the talks, though. I love the talks.
Yeah, we went to
I
a lot
love
of
the
different
talks.
places.
We went to a lot of different places.
Yeah,
It was a
very
lot of
very
fun.
serious as well. I think it's good to be able to talk about things like this because obviously we have different generations sitting at the table, different
Yeah.
points of views. Certainly gives us more insights to how the world's thinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't forget, if you want to check out the video, we are on Instagram. We are on Twitter at The Dive Studios, also YouTube Dive Studios. I want to thank both Alexa and Marshall for joining us today.
Thank you so much,
Thank
guys.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
for
us.
having us.
Hope you guys enjoyed it. What'd you think of it? What'd you think of it?
Yeah, it was.
It was insightful. It's nice to see how other people think.
Ooh, insightful. What a good
Mhm,
word
thank you.
choice.
Wow.
SAT word.
An SAT word. Give both of you the opportunity to
Plug something.
Yeah, plug something. Plug yourself. Plug whatever.
Okay.
Go for it.
Oh, me. Okay. Even though I just finished my promotions, actually, you can see the latest music video I did online on my YouTube, which is AleXa ZB label, and other fun content that's going to be made soon. And then I also have an Instagram, which I'm pretty active on, which is AleXa_ZB official.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Your splits are quite impressive.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I
Thank
saw them on Instagram.
splits.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
splits.
Nice.
And choreography is crazy.
She's-
Thank
It is
she's a hell of a
crazy.
dancer.
Thank
Nuts.
you.
Get
Hell of a
it.
dancer.
Yeah.
Get it.
Hell of a dancer.
So you can follow me on my socials as well. My Instagram handle is MarshallXYZ. And you can find my music on, Spotify, Apple Music, all the different musical places where people go to listen to music. And my artist name is it's probably going to be written, but it's MRSHLL. So Marshall with no
Mr.
A's.
Shell.
Mr. Shell.
Fuck vowels.
It's Marshall. It's Marshall. Yeah, but I have a new EP coming out in June. So
Ooh.
stay tuned for that.
Hey.
Boop, boop.
Awesome.
All right. Well,
Yeah. Don't forget to hit subscribe, write those reviews, and come back and join us next time.
all right. Thanks, guys. You were with Dave and
Sam.
Sam. Have a good night, morning, afternoon, whatever time zone you're at.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
you. Bye.
Miss Vane.
Hope you enjoyed the clip. If you did, listen to the full episode on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
And make sure to subscribe to this channel, Dive Studios, and put those notifications on. Hit that bell.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.